Trade between China and India has a long and rich history, spanning over 2 millennia. These two ancient civilizations first engaged in commerce via overland trade routes, most notably the Silk Road, which facilitated the exchange of goods, culture, and knowledge between East and South Asia as early as the first millennium BCE. Archaeological discoveries, such as Indian beads found in China from this period, highlight the early interactions between the two regions. One of the most significant developments in their trade relationship was the spread of Buddhism from India to China during the 1st century CE. This cultural and religious exchange was made possible through these trade routes, as Buddhist monks traveled between the two regions. Alongside religious transmission, goods such as Chinese silk and Indian spices, gems, and textiles were traded along the Silk Road. Chinese silk, in particular, became a highly prized export in India and beyond. By the 18th and 19th centuries, European colonialism began reshaping Sino-Indian trade. The British East India Company played a pivotal role in this, especially through the controversial opium trade. The British exported opium grown in India to China, leading to the infamous Opium Wars in the mid-19th century, which severely disrupted China's economy and trade relations. World War II also significantly impacted trade between China and India, as both countries were embroiled in conflicts that limited their ability to engage in international commerce. Additionally, political upheavals, such as the Chinese Civil War and India's independence movement, led to a temporary decline in bilateral trade. The India-China border dispute, rooted in historical claims, remains one of the most persistent geopolitical tensions in Asia. The central issue is the Line of Actual Control, LAC, a 3,488 kilometers undefined boundary cutting across the Himalayan region, with key contested areas being Aksai Chin in the west and Arunachal Pradesh in the east. The border dispute between China and India dates back to the British colonial era, when unclear surveys and differing interpretations of natural borders complicated territorial claims. The McMahon Line, proposed in 1914 during the Simla Convention, was recognized by India as its eastern boundary, but China has never accepted this demarcation. On the western front, Aksai Chin, a barren high-altitude region, became a focal point of contention when China built a strategic road through it in the 1950s, linking Tibet to Xinjiang, a move India strongly opposed. Tensions escalated into the 1962 Sino-Indian War, a short but intense conflict that ended in a decisive victory for China. After the war, China consolidated its control over Aksai Chin, while India retained control of the eastern region, which China claims as part of Tibet. This conflict left a lasting impact, souring bilateral relations for decades. In the years following the war, relations remained strained, with occasional skirmishes along the Line of Actual Control, LAC. However, in the 1980s, both nations agreed to separate the border issue from broader diplomatic relations. Several rounds of talks and confidence-building measures, including protocols for military disengagement, helped maintain relative peace. In the 2000s, China's growing economic and military power began to shift the balance. As China expanded its infrastructure and military presence near the LAC, tensions mounted. In response, India bolstered its own border defenses, increasing friction. Incidents like the 2017 Doklam standoff highlighted the potential for conflict, though both sides managed to de-escalate the situation. A significant turning point occurred in June 2020 when Chinese and Indian troops clashed violently in the Galwan Valley, resulting in the first fatalities at the border in over 4 decades. This clash marked a fundamental shift in the relationship, with both sides intensifying their military presence along the Line of Actual Control, LAC. Subsequent efforts to disengage through diplomatic and military talks have been slow and incremental, with both nations maintaining a heavy military presence. As of October 21st, India and China have reached a new patrol arrangement along their disputed border, effectively ending a 4-year military standoff. India's foreign minister announced this breakthrough on Monday, paving the way for improved political and economic relations between the two major Asian powers. The announcement comes just ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Russia for the BRICS summit from October 22nd to 24th. where he may hold discussions with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Indian Foreign Minister Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, speaking at an NDTV media conclave, stated that the agreement restores the situation to what it was in 2020 and marks the completion of the disengagement process with China. He emphasized that disrupting peace and tranquility at the border hinders broader progress in the bilateral relationship. A senior Indian military officer told Reuters that, to prevent future confrontations, both countries' militaries will patrol disputed areas according to a mutually agreed schedule. The officer added that both sides will closely monitor the Ladakh region to ensure compliance and prevent violations. Officials in New Delhi also indicated that the agreement could lead to a potential bilateral meeting between Modi and Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, which would be their first encounter since 2020. The military officer further mentioned that both sides will slightly withdraw their troops from current positions to avoid direct face-offs, while still being allowed to patrol the areas based on the new schedule. Monthly review meetings and consistent monitoring of the contested regions will help ensure that no violations occur. Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying our content, hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback and engagement really help us grow. Thanks so much. The upcoming 2024 BRICS Summit will tackle several important topics, with a primary focus on consolidating the recent expansion of the group. New members like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the UAE, Iran, and Ethiopia have joined, and discussions will center on how to integrate these countries and refine BRICS's broader strategy for enhancing global cooperation. A key issue on the agenda is promoting the use of local currencies for trade among member states as an alternative to the US dollar, aimed at reducing reliance on Western financial systems. However, the goal is to provide more flexibility in cross-border transactions rather than pursuing full dollarization. Russia, in collaboration with the central banks of BRICS member nations, is actively developing a new settlement and payment infrastructure that will enable transactions in national currencies, including digital formats. This initiative is part of a broader effort by BRICS to enhance financial autonomy and reduce dependence on Western-controlled financial systems, which are often subject to sanctions or political pressures. A central aspect of this initiative is the proposed creation of a multilateral digital settlement and payment platform, tentatively named BRICS Bridge. The platform aims to connect the financial markets of BRICS countries, allowing for more efficient and secure trade and financial transactions. Since being considered at the 2023 BRICS Summit in South Africa, the BRICS Bridge concept has gained traction as a means of providing resilient infrastructure immune to external interference, including sanctions. This is particularly relevant for countries like Russia, which have been significantly impacted by sanctions. The platform is seen as crucial for expanding financial cooperation, especially as BRICS nations push for the use of national currencies in trade. A digital platform could streamline these transactions, and it may eventually pave the way for the inclusion of digital currencies, such as central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, in regular cross-border payments. At the summit in Kazan, the development of this independent multilateral digital platform is expected to be a key focus. Russian Federation Council Speaker Valentina Matvienko emphasized its importance, suggesting it will be a major topic of discussion. The BRICS Bridge represents a strategic step toward greater financial sovereignty for BRICS nations, potentially reducing their exposure to geopolitical risks tied to the current global financial infrastructure. The BRICS countries have been working on developing an alternative financial system since 2023, and its potential impact is significant. Collectively, BRICS nations represent over 40% of the world's population and contribute around 25% of global GDP, making them a major force in global economic affairs. If successfully implemented, a BRICS-exclusive financial platform could further strengthen the group's economic influence and offer a new model for other emerging economies looking for alternatives to the traditional Western-led financial order. In addition to economic cooperation, the summit will also focus on reforming global governance institutions like the UN and the Bretton Woods institutions, IMF and World Bank. The bloc is expected to renew its calls for restructuring these bodies to better reflect the shifting balance of power, particularly to give emerging economies a stronger voice. Other important discussions will address global challenges such as climate change, food security, and energy cooperation. Topics like the establishment of a BRICS payment system, enhancing supply chain resilience, and fostering scientific collaboration will also be on the agenda. Moreover, the summit will explore ways to promote multilateralism in an increasingly fragmented global political landscape. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. We truly appreciate your time with us today. If you enjoyed this content or found it inspiring, please consider liking the video and subscribing to stay connected with our community. Your support means the world to us. Another video from our channel is now on the screen, so feel free to check it out. Thanks again for watching.